In January 1917, a message left Berlin encoded in 158 numbers. It traveled through neutral Sweden, then through American diplomatic cables, then across the Atlantic, arriving in Washington without raising a single alarm. Nobody stopped it. Nobody checked it closely enough, because it was moving through the wrong wires entirely. Germany, cut off from its own transatlantic cables since 1914, was sending secret military telegrams using the United States relay system. The Americans had allowed it as a diplomatic courtesy. That courtesy, it turned out, would cost Germany the war. The man who wrote the message was Arthur Zimmermann, Germany's foreign secretary, appointed just 2 months earlier. He was considered practical, pragmatic, not reckless by reputation. What he wrote in that telegram suggested otherwise. Germany had a problem. The war was grinding into its third brutal year. The Allied naval blockade had cut off food and raw material imports. By early 1917, German civilian rations were a fraction of pre-war levels. The military believed one option remained that could end things quickly: unrestricted submarine warfare, targeting all ships heading toward Britain. Every ship, including American ones. Berlin knew exactly what that decision would likely trigger. If American vessels started sinking, Washington would not stay neutral. Zimmermann's telegram was a hedge, written before the submarines even launched. It was sent January 16, 1917, addressed to the German ambassador in Washington. He would forward it to the German minister in Mexico City. The proposal inside was straightforward and almost breathtaking in its ambition. If the United States entered the war, Germany asked Mexico to join as an ally. In return, Germany would provide financial support for Mexico's war effort. And when Germany won, Mexico would recover Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. 3 American states promised to a foreign government in a coded telegram. Zimmermann also suggested Mexico invite Japan to switch sides entirely. Japan was already in the war, fighting with the Allies against Germany. The proposal assumed these arrangements could be made, managed, and kept secret. It was not a careful plan. It was a contingency written in haste. The telegram moved through the cable lines and landed in 2 places simultaneously. British naval intelligence intercepted it the same morning it was sent. On January 16, 1917, Room 40 received the coded message. Room 40 was a department inside the Admiralty building in London. It had been quietly breaking German codes since the first months of the war. By 1917, through intercepted codebooks and years of accumulated work, British cryptographers could decipher most German diplomatic communications. A codebreaker named Nigel de Grey began working through the numbers that morning. Within a day, enough of the message had been decoded to understand its content. What he read was, by any measure, extraordinary. De Grey brought the decoded text to his superior, Admiral William Hall. Hall was the director of British naval intelligence, not a man given to panic. But even he recognized immediately what was sitting on the desk in front of him. This was not routine intelligence. This was a potential weapon. The British had a problem, though, and it was a serious one. They could not simply hand the telegram to Washington and explain everything, because explaining everything meant admitting something uncomfortable. British intelligence had been reading American diplomatic cables the entire war, not just German ones, American ones too. Handing over the telegram would reveal that, and the Americans would not be pleased. There was a second problem sitting beneath the first one. If Germany learned that code 13040 had been broken, they would change it overnight. And Room 40 would lose years of carefully built intelligence advantage in one move. Hall needed to give the Americans the telegram without revealing how Britain got it. That required a cover story, and it required finding a second copy. As it happened, the telegram had been sent twice through different routes. A version had also traveled through the German embassy in Washington down to Mexico. British agents were able to obtain a copy of that version from Mexican telegraph lines. That copy, decoded slightly differently, gave Hall what he needed. Britain could claim the telegram had been obtained in Mexico, not intercepted in London. It was not entirely false. It was not entirely honest either. The cover story held long enough for what came next. On February 24, 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour called in the American ambassador. Walter Hines Page sat down and read the decoded telegram for the first time. He sent it to President Woodrow Wilson in Washington that same day. Wilson had been re-elected just months earlier on a platform of keeping America out of the war. His campaign slogan, widely repeated, "He kept us out of war." He read Zimmermann's proposal and, according to later accounts, felt genuine fury. But Wilson did not publish it immediately. He waited 6 more days. On March 1, 1917, the text of the telegram appeared in American newspapers. The public reaction was not measured or restrained. The offer of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona to Mexico landed like a physical shock. Many Americans had already harbored suspicion toward Germany after years of U-boat attacks. This felt different. This was not war at sea. This was a plan involving American soil. Within days, rumors spread about how the telegram had actually been obtained. Some insisted it was a British forgery designed to pull America into the war. The accusation had logic behind it. Britain desperately needed American troops. And British intelligence had been caught manipulating American opinion before. German-American community newspapers pushed back hard against the telegram's authenticity. Then Arthur Zimmermann himself did something that no one had anticipated. On March 3, 1917, he confirmed the telegram was genuine in a public statement. He said he had sent it. He defended the reasoning behind it. Historians have puzzled over that decision ever since. He had just eliminated the only argument that could have protected Germany's position. Mexico, for its part, never seriously entertained the offer. President Venustiano Carranza received the proposal and had it examined by his advisors. The conclusion was practical, not ideological. Germany was fighting a war it was not clearly winning, an ocean away. The financial support promised was vague, the military backing was theoretical, and recovering Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona required defeating the United States, a country sharing a direct land border with Mexico, permanently. Carranza officially rejected the proposal on April 14, 1917, a week after the United States had already declared war on Germany. Japan, the third country named in Zimmermann's telegram, never responded at all. Tokyo was already fighting alongside the Allies and had no interest in switching sides. The plan had assumed alliances that did not exist and leverage that Germany did not have. On April 2, 1917, Woodrow Wilson stood before a joint session of Congress. He asked for a declaration of war against Germany. The Zimmermann telegram was not the only reason. It was not even presented as the main one. Unrestricted submarine warfare had already pushed Wilson toward the edge. American ships had been sunk, American sailors had drowned in the Atlantic. But the telegram had done something the submarine campaign alone could not fully accomplish. It made the threat feel immediate, territorial, and personal to ordinary Americans. A U-boat attack was distant. A German-backed army marching toward Texas was not. On April 6, 1917, Congress formally declared war on Germany. 3 years of American neutrality ended in a single vote. Within months, American troops were moving toward the Western Front. The arrival of fresh soldiers, supplies, and industrial capacity shifted the war's balance. Germany's gamble, that unrestricted submarines would break Britain before America mobilized, did not pay off. The submarines sank ships. America mobilized anyway. Room 40 continued its work in silence throughout all of it. The British never publicly confirmed they had broken German codes during the war. The full story of how the telegram was intercepted, decoded, and strategically released did not become widely understood until decades later, through declassified records. What the telegram revealed, beyond its specific military proposal, was how fragile a secret becomes once it moves through someone else's wire. Zimmermann had sent the message through American cables because Germany had no other option. The British had cut Germany's transatlantic lines in the first days of the war in 1914. That single early decision, a ship sent to sever 5 cables on the ocean floor, had quietly shaped everything that followed. The telegram itself was 158 numbers on a page. Decoded, it was fewer than 200 words. David Kahn, one of the foremost historians of cryptography, later wrote that no other decoded message in history produced consequences of that scale. That claim is contested by some historians, but the argument is not unreasonable. A coded message, sent through borrowed wires, broken in a basement office in London, published in newspapers across America, and then confirmed by the man who wrote it, had moved a neutral country into a world war. As with much of this period, some details remain disputed across different national archives, and the full picture of what was known, when, and by whom is still debated by historians. But the telegram exists, the decoded text exists, Zimmermann's admission exists. Those are not in dispute. What remains quietly remarkable is how many things had to go wrong simultaneously for one message to do that much damage.